This is Insight 2019. I'm talking with Florian. A few good questions for you. Please tell us about yourself at NetApp.
Good morning, Joseph. So, my name is Florian. I'm a senior manager, Service Enablement Solutions, based in Munich, actually. And we do custom application development for NetApp.
Fantastic.
And have recently worked on rebuilding the NetApp Support Site. That's one of our applications in the portfolio.
You got ahead of me already. Tell us about that a little bit. What was one of the support projects you worked on?
So the NetApp Support Site is a pretty important piece of the infrastructure for us because every customer who is seeking help, who wants to find knowledge-based articles, create a support case, or update their install base, there are many things they can do.
Yeah.
They do it. Most of them do it online. More and more people do things online these days, right? And this is a central entry point for them. A website where they can log on, they register, and then they can do all these things.
Right.
And that website has been, some pieces of it have been really old, like 15 years or older. And
really?
Yes,
Okay.
it had different stacks, technology stacks these days, because things have been added over time.
Okay.
But it got to a point where it was really hard to maintain. And so last year we kind of said, when we picked it on and we reviewed it, we said we have to we have to rebuild this from the ground up.
Okay.
And that's what we did.
So it was a small project.
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
We started in March,
Yeah.
and now it's October, so we launched a beta version that's live now, so with a lot of core capabilities. It will take us a few more months before we make the switch from the current site to the new site still. We don't want to be too aggressive.
No.
But to give you an idea, there have been in recent years, there have been attempts to do the same thing, which have been 2 years, multi-million-dollar projects.
Really?
At NetApp.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't succeed really, they just replaced pieces of it.
Okay.
So it wasn't even a rebuild. That's why we have so many different stacks, because there were these attempts and then they kind of failed to implement this and then, money run off. And we are now much more cost effective, much faster.
Okay.
And it's not completed, but we have a large subset already, and it will take us a few more months to get it done. And then
About speed. Let's talk about the DevOps journey, or at least the incorporation of DevOps principles into that process.
yes, I mean, since we started over from the scratch, this was obviously a very good moment to apply, to start with the, let's say, latest and greatest things, right? So even though we used continuous integration and continuous deployment in other projects before, in this one we kind of used a platform called Cloud One.
Yes.
That you heard about here today, which we worked together with that team to kind of mature it and get to the point where we run a tier 1 application on this one. And there we applied all of these practices, so continuous integration, continuous deployment into containers. We had run it, the project was run in a Scrum style, but we had 5 different teams.
Okay.
So we had smaller teams that own a particular piece of it. It was a microservice-based architecture which made this, let's say, more easy to do so, to work on smaller teams.
Yeah.
And so overall, I think it worked pretty well for us.
Well, you're
so
definitely
far.
saying the right buzzwords. So that's what I was looking for. Oh wait, no, wait, that's on camera. Never mind. Have you begun using microservices at all within Cloud One, or at least the process of Cloud One?
Yes. So the
Understatement?
no.
No. Okay.
I mean, microservices is a very interesting architecture and concept. I think microservices are not necessarily the answer to every problem, right? It's like always, there's a bit of hype around it,
Okay.
but for a publicly facing website like this, it's a perfect use case.
Explain.
So the site has a lot of different features and capabilities, and some of them you can very well defined as a certain domain. Take cases, for example.
Okay.
So we have a case service which helps us deal everything around cases. And it's not just the entity case, it's the domain case. Yeah. And by having this broken down into multiple in these different microservices, each service is smaller. It's easier to manage, easier to grasp.
Yeah.
There are so many aspects of this. We could probably talk for 20 minutes about it, but the most key point is that it allowed us to break it down in smaller pieces, which are more manageable, and also better to automate. I think that's the other key point, maybe that's worth mentioning, that automated testing is so important in this aspect. You can't do all this continuous integration, continuous deployment, and iterate very quickly if you have no automated tests.
Was it test quick, fail fast, or something
exactly.
like that? Yeah.
If you don't build automated tests, you cannot, if you have 4 weeks end-to-end tests every time you want to make a small update, you don't need all this.
Right.
So automated tests is very important, and microservices are much easier to test than, like a large monolithic architecture.
Okay, interesting. Now, I want to go off the script a little bit here and ask you just an improvised question that I was thinking about. You said you're from Munich, lovely place, one of my favorite places to go to. Now, let's just say you're coming to the U.S., lots of fantastic beers. What is the one you smuggle in your luggage from Munich because you just have to have it? You can't live without it.
I think we're taking Augustiner beer.
Which one?
Augustiner.
Augustiner, okay.
That's, I think it's the oldest brewery in Munich.
Is that right?
Even, or one of the oldest, I think.
Okay.
But it's the most popular beer in Munich.
Oh, wow.
So there's a place, Viktualienmarkt in Munich. It's a marketplace you can go, and they have a beer garden there.
Ah.
Because it's such a central place, they have to have, from all the major breweries in Munich, and I think there are 11 of them, they serve each brewery's beer. And it's a fixed amount of beer, and when they run out, then they take the next one. It's an iteration.
Oh, okay.
Whenever they have Augustiner, it's the fastest that's run out. So that helps,
what do you
right?
like about it? I'm just curious. Like, what is the flavor, or what is the whatever that?
It's a lager type of style beer,
Yeah.
and I just love it. I really like it.
That's fine. I just, for the audience who may not know if it's a lager or if it's a what, nobody, I don't know.
The US has, so I have been in RTP in California, and you have a lot of these microbreweries, right, which create fantastic beers that are really interesting ideas, and they mix all kind of flavors, and it's nice to try.
Yeah.
But this is just a beer.
There's no raspberries in it,
no
vanilla in it. It's
plain,
just,
good, awesome beer.
Yeah. That is the German style I appreciate as well. What do I want? A beer. Which brand? Augustiner.
There you go. There are other fantastic brands as well, but if you have to choose.
If you have to. But you don't have to. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up then. Florian, Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.